理事长晚安，有听到我的声音吗？
徐院长好，徐院长辛苦了，有听到声音，谢谢。
有听到我的声音吗？谢谢。
有，谢谢。
Professor Wang, nice to see you in the early morning.
My pleasure.
Sorry about that. 4 o'clock.
No problem.
各位学员晚安。以下提醒您，请使用本名上线，姓名与报名填写时不符，学分将不采认。请尊重智慧财产权。课程报名为1人上课费用，勿1人报名多人上课。课程进行期间，请关闭麦克风，并开启您的镜头。课程收据将于课后陆续寄出。课程出席证明将于课后1周内审核出席记录。需填写满意度才可认列学分。课程即将开始，谢谢您。
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to THQA ASQA Medical Quality Library International Master Webinar Series. Today our topic is focused on clinical engineer and the medical information quality. So we have a special guest and speaker, both Dr. Wang, Dr. Binseng Wang, and Dr. Pa-Chun Wang. Next. I'm Binseng Wang, as the chairman in the International Cooperative Committee in Taiwan Health Quality Association. Next. This meeting is organized by Taiwan Healthcare Quality Association, THQA, and also next, ASQA, Asian Society for Quality in Healthcare. Next, and also TAMIX and ISH. So next, Society. Next. If you have any question, please leave a message at Slido. We will have a Q&A in the after 2 talk. Next. First, I will introduce our president in Taiwan Healthcare Quality Association, also superintendent in Fuyin University Hospital, President Shao Yizhen, for opening remarks. Professor Zheng, please. Next.
Good evening, distinguished guest speaker and colleagues. On behalf of the Taiwan Healthcare Quality Association, it is my great honor to welcome you to our conference on the clinical engineering and the medical information qualities. In recent years, the rapid development of smart healthcare has transformed the way we deliver care, conduct research, and manage our institutes. However, with very technological leap comes new challenges and sometimes unforeseen risk. Tonight, we are privileged to have 2 highly respected speakers who will guide us through the critical aspect of this evolving landscape. First, we will hear from the Vice Superintendent王拔群Professor, who will address the topic of information technologies related to medical adverse events. His talk will shed light on how system design flaws, operation errors, interface mistakes, or integrated issues can lead to patient harm, often unnoticed and underestimated in current reporting system. This is a time reminder that technologies, while powerful, must be implemented with the vigilance and continuous improvement in the mind. Following that, Dr. Binseng Wang will share his expertise on the application of ISO 13485:2016 to clinical engineering. Although originally developed for medical device manufacturers, this standard can be successfully adopted to clinical engineering service companies and hospital departments, helping them achieve the formal quality recognition and establish a culture of continuous improvements. The synergies between these two topics is clean, high-quality healthcare in the digital era require both a robust technology safety and a well-structured quality management system. By learning from both local and international experience, we can strengthen patient safety, optimize clinical engineering, and ensure that innovation serves humanity without compromise. I invite all our viewers to actively engage, exchange ideas, and take the insight from tonight back to your respective institutes. Together, we can shape a safety, smart, and high-quality healthcare systems. Thank you. I wish our conference great success.
Thank you, President Jen. Next. First part, I will invite Professor Wang Zhongrun, is the Vice Dean of College of Medicine, Furen Catholic University. He was responsible first moderator for this seminar. Professor Wang, please. Professor Wang.
Thank you.
Thank
Can you
you.
hear me?
Yes.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to join 2025 Medical Quality Library Master Webinar Series 2 with the theme of clinical engineering and medical information quality. I'm Binseng Wang, Vice Dean of the College of Medicine at Furen Catholic University and the Director of Emergency Medicine at Furen Catholic University Hospital. I have been the Chair of Resuscitation Council of Asia and the CEO of National Resuscitation Council of Taiwan. My career has been devoted to emergency medicine and patient safety. I'm honored to be here to chair the first session of today's symposium tonight and to share this wonderful evening with all of you. First, I'd like to introduce our distinguished domestic keynote speaker, Dr. Pa-Chun Wang. Dr. Wang is a leading voice in healthcare quality and patient safety in Asia. Serving as a Deputy Superintendent of Cathay General Hospital and the former CEO of the Joint Commission of Hospital Accreditation of Taiwan. With training from Harvard and the National Taiwan University, he has shaped hospital accreditation, simulation-based education, and healthcare management standards regionally and internationally. Today, Dr. Wang will give us a speech concerning information technology related to medical adverse events, emerging threat to patient safety. Thank you, Dr. Wang.
Ladies, gentlemen, this is Pa-Chun Wang from Taipei, Taiwan. I'm currently the Vice Superintendent of the Kasei General Hospital in Taipei, a professor at the Fujian Catholic University School of Medicine, and also the Board Executive of Joint Commission Taiwan. Today, I'd like to share with you the information technology related medical adverse event. This is an emerging threat to patient safety. How to say that? The use of information technology encompassing the big data, digital imaging, telemedicine, electronic medical records, and artificial intelligence deliver more efficient, personalized, and convenient care using technology to integrate and manage people, information, materials, and care needs and options into dynamic ecosystem. So there's a emerging, exploding market of the smart healthcare. But what's the threat to our patient safety field? As we remember that the breakdown of the CrowdStrike IT outage affected 8.5 million Windows devices. A massive technology failure has caused travel chaos around the world, with banking and also the healthcare services also badly hit. So not only the cybersecurity issue, but also the insufficient governance of artificial intelligence in medical technology increase the risk of patient safety. And although the ransomware targeting into the healthcare sectors remains a critical threat. So is your patient safety event health IT related? So previously we investigate the patient safety event like the wrong medication, wrong injection, wrong transfusion. So you basically can witness the happening of the error. But right now, the patient safety events become invisible, becomes unpredictable. Is a health information technology related to patient safety event is defined of any event triggered by or related to the technology that has caused patient harm, has the potential to cause patient harm, or that causes a delay in treatment or misdiagnosis. These errors will not occur but for the use of technology. And it is also very difficult to predict, very difficult to prevent, and very difficult to witness, like previous traditional patient safety event. So why should leader care? Health IT related safety events, never miss or hazards can cause damage to internal and external reputation, can have negative patient outcomes, including decreased patient satisfaction, that also will compromise workplace safety, diminish workforce and user satisfaction, and also to disrupt workflow. So the use of IT technology is getting more and more popular and very close to our daily work, but also it will cause another threat to the patient safety. So the system errors will lead to danger for patients. Errors arise when HIT configuration and the facilities workflow do not support each other. If HIT system cannot support the processes, workflows and procedures are not adjusted the capability of HIT system, they may cause misinformation or the inability to find needed information, mistaken application of default values, input errors, and ergonomic errors. So let's investigate the health IT contributing factors. we use the societal technique models to see if there is any hardware and software problem. Is there any clinical content problem? That means the text, the numerical data, and the images that constitute the language of clinical application in clinical decision support has some problem. We can also check if there is a human-computer interface problem, the people's problem. So when people who is involved with the patient care or interact in some way with healthcare delivery, or there's a workflow and a communication problem, that processes to ensure that patient care is carried out effectively and efficiently and safely were broken. And also the policies, procedures, the physical work environment, and the organization culture that govern how the system is configured, where and how it's used. So we need to check the organization policies, the procedures, and the culture. And also the external rules, regulation, and the pressures, external forces that facilitate or place constraints on the design, development, implementation, use, and evaluation of HIT. And the 8-point, system measurement and monitoring for evaluation both intended and unintended consequences through a variety of prospective and retrospective, quantitative and qualitative methods. So let's share the study platform findings from IT-related medical areas. So since 2019, Joint Commission of Taiwan and the ECRI and the 20 hospitals, we work together to collect cases from hospitals to find out the causes and discuss solutions about the IT-related medical errors. So through the group study and the brainstorming, we try to cooperate to develop a more safe environment during the IT dominant environment. So in the 45 cases collected from 2023, we find some IV event type, the human-machine interface problem, information security problem, system operation problem, medical device connectivity problem, medical instrument and equipment problem. And although the HIT system itself, or the information security issue. So there are a lot of to learn from this event. So the system, the CPOE system is the most vulnerable system, followed by an administration billing system and also the clinical documentation system. So type of information related patient safety. So the error can range from information system problem, data transmission problem, data synchronization problem, alarm related problem, system user interface problem, or device connectivity problem, or the human operation problems. So these are further look into the contributing factors, including the usability, data quality, decision support, implementation, and other related contributing factors. So the usability, it may relate to the confusing information display, excessive information that exceeds human memory, and information is hidden somebody is hard to find, or the data quality, discrepancy between the database and the displayed, printed, or exported data. We have a lost data, and the IT design contributed to entry of data in the wrong patient's records. And the decision support, we can give missing recommendation or safeguard. We can give excessive non-specific recommendations, and or we face inappropriate level of automation. Implementation, the faculty software designs, faculty configuration or programming, and other additional information problem. In others, we have inadequate training of personnel. We have a hardware failure problem, and we face, although the classic problem of excessive workload. So this evolution and expansion and concerns give rise to the crucial ongoing challenge. So what is the future contribution of smart healthcare to promote safer and higher quality of care? And the COVID-19 removed many organizational, professional, and individual barriers for telemedicine. So, but few studies have discussed that telemedicine should be integrated into established healthcare process, let alone problems related to insurance fraud, misdiagnosis, due to the lack of in-person physical examination or cybersecurity. So, an ongoing, thorough examination of smart healthcare use, safety, and the risk and the strategies to address identified concern is timely. And the risk with assessment and monitoring for care via smart healthcare. Medical equipment utilization wireless transmission has become a common feature, even with extensive Wi-Fi and internet coverage provided in any beyond facilities. Some undetectable wireless blind zone, electronic interface, or power disruption can cause signal transmission problem, thus presenting a loss of data and a monitoring of care. Open data and the network to unauthorized users is another option to use open data. But unauthorized user can access to this information and cause some patient privacy issue. In time-sensitive networking environment, significant risk management is required to ensure that security, operational, and ethical issues are continually monitored and addressed. Integration of complexity of initial joining and ongoing activity due to the compatibility of technology, computational architecture, and the training requirement. Integration is both an initial joining and ongoing activities or monitoring and the training requiring significant responsibility, accountability, and the resources allocation. There are information capture or exchange problems. To ensure when integrating new elements, an effective human-machine interface is maintained in each instance. Without an effective ergonomic element, technology can result in human confusion, frustration, and fatigue, thus increasing the likelihood of error. Determine the appropriate application of smart healthcare AI. When applied to low-risk administrative processes, AI has been used with billing, coding, scheduling, and operational efficiency improvement reliability. The potential for harmful or incorrect outcomes in clinical area remains, and the concern about harmful or incorrect outcomes in clinical area remains. Associated with these concerns are important ethical issues linked to patient consent about the ongoing long-term collection, storage, and use of data. There is a need for further real-world methodologies to validate AI assessment and the decision options across care settings. Okay, so our conclusion. First, do no harm. Information systems are closely related to patient safety. It is an important emerging issue that should be taken seriously. Most IT-related medical errors caused by many reasons, not by single cause. Information system must cater to the needs of users. Right person, right information, right time is a key element. Avoiding providing too much unnecessary information or warning messages. So this is my sharing Hope you like it. Thank you very much.
Thanks for Professor Wang's comprehensive speech. To my knowledge, we will have time for panel discussion after 2 keynote speeches. So I'd like to forward my chairing to the next moderator, Professor Huifeng Xu. Professor Xu is currently Vice President, National Health Research Institute, Taiwan. Distinguished investigator, Institute of Molecular and Genomic Medicine, NHRI, Taiwan. He is also a professor of medicine at Taipei Veterans General Hospital, Taiwan. Professor Xu, please.
Yes, good morning or good afternoon or good evening. It's my great honor to introduce our second speakers today, Dr. Binseng Wang. Dr. Wang is an international famous scholar, expertise in the medical clinical engineering. He had got his Doctor of Science degree from MIT. He's certified clinical engineer from International Certification Commission on Clinical Engineering and biomedical technology. He's a certified quality management system associate audit from Registrar Accreditation Board, which is now part of the Exemplar Global, a member of the American Society of Qualities. Professor Wang, Dr. Wang, he had received many awards. The ACCE Management Achievement Award 1999 and 2001, and the Best Article Award from Biomedical Instrumentation and Technology magazine 2006, and 2013. And most importantly, in 2015, he was bestowed the ACCE Lifetime Achievement Award. So today, we are going to have him to give a speech entitled "The Application of ISO 13485-2016 to a clinical engineering." He will provide a pre-record video, but he's online, so I will give him some time to say some word after his speech.
Hello, this is Binseng Wang. Thank you to the Taiwan Association for Healthcare Quality, and especially Dr. Pa-Chun Wang for your kind invitation for me to participate in this important event. I'm sorry that I'm not there in person to make this presentation, and also I apologize for not making this presentation in Chinese. Although I was born in Taiwan, I left with my family when I was barely 5 years old. Today, we are going to talk about the application of the international standard called 13485 to clinical engineering. And I have sent the slide deck to Dr. Wang, so I am not going to read every single line, every single slide in detail. Hopefully, this will save time and give you the luxury of asking questions afterwards. Here is an abstract of my presentation, and I'm going to just let you read afterwards, as well as my biography, so you can understand a little bit about my background. So let's go over what we are going to talk today. First, we are going to make an introduction about the topic, And then we are going to give you an example of the application adoption of ISO 13485 for clinical engineering. And then we are going to have a brief discussion and make some conclusions. The introduction is going to be composed of several elements here. Hopefully, these are basically reviews of what you already know, but I just want to make sure that we are all in sync with these concepts before we go to the actual adoption of ISO 13485. First, clinical engineering. The clinical engineering can be defined as the application of engineering and management principles and techniques to technology deployed in healthcare. Clinical engineering is also known, particularly here in the United States, as healthcare technology management. Quality is a critical aspect of CEHTM because healthcare professionals, doctors, nurses, therapists like yourselves, often depend on technology. In this case, we're talking about medical devices in particular to deliver healthcare. Analogous to the healthcare professionals, you folks, interest in quality, CE professionals want to contribute to safe and timely care of patients by ensuring high quality of their maintenance and management services. The quality standards that existed until 1985 were basically introduced by large companies and government agencies. For example, back in 1979, the British established the BS 5750, and that was actually the basis for the international standard called ISO 9001 that was initially published in 1985, and then created really a first version of ISO 9001 in 1987. And then subsequently, several revisions were made in 1994, 2000, 2008, 2015, and 2024. The ISO 13485 standard is specifically for medical devices, and its primary purpose is for regulatory purposes. And the first edition was created in 1996 and based on the 1994 edition of 9001, and subsequently was revised and actually starting to diverge significantly from 9001, as we will see later. The adoption of 13485 by most countries, regulatory authorities, happened gradually, but has been pretty broad. For example, Canada, European Union, United States, countries like Australia, Japan, etc. And some countries wrote their specific GMP, good manufacturing practice, quality management system, closely aligned with the ISO 13485. My understanding of the situation in Taiwan is back in 2020, the Medical Device Act was issued and requires the OEM to follow, to establish a quality management system, QMS. And then 2021, the quality management system regulation was issued by the government, and the standard applies to facilities, equipment, organization, personnel, production, quality control, storage, distribution, handling of customer complaints, etc., all in conformity with 13485. So this is a worldwide quality standard that is well known by the manufacturers and most likely by healthcare professionals like yourselves. Let me make a quick comparison between 9001, the 2015 edition, and then the 13485 2016 edition. I'm not going to use the newer edition of 9001 because the 13485 started to diverge significantly from 9001 since this edition was published. So again, while the general goal is the same, to make sure that product and services meet customer and statutory requirements, the focus is quite different. 9001 is any type of product or service, whereas the 13485 is specifically focused on medical devices. Customer satisfaction is core for 9001. For 13485 is regulatory requirements. And here, 9001 can be applicable to any kind of product service, whereas 13485 is specifically for medical devices. And the structure is basically the same. However, there are some significant differences because of the need to meet regulatory requirements. For example, the quality manual became optional in 2015 edition of 9001, but in 13485 it's still a requirement. Okay, why clinical engineering have considered and is now adopting quite often 13485? Technically speaking, clinical engineering is not required to adopt such a standard. Many organizations, for example, Medic PIN, a rental company here in the United States, established its own quality management system back in the 1990s. And 9001 was actually proposed as a standard and has been adopted actually by many organizations in clinical engineering worldwide, but not widely enough. Here in the United States, since 2016, some manufacturers have been pushing the US FDA to regulate medical device services companies that provide services as well as hospital clinical engineering departments to follow the quality standard regulation that is used by the FDA for the manufacturers exactly in the same way as FDA does it to manufacturers. The FDA has been reluctant in doing that because of the lack of problems in their view, as well as limited resources that they have. But some services were also providing repair, recall, remediation service to the OEMs, and so they are required by those OEMs to follow the quality system regulation. And after a while, most medical device servicing organizations decide to adopt 13485 here in the United States at least, to prove they have a commitment to quality and also to gain competitive edge against smaller companies. And a few in-house hospital-based clinical engineering departments also decided to adopt 13485 as a way to reduce the risk of being outsourced to service companies and OEMs because they provide the so-called multi-vendor service here in the United States as well as in several other countries. So an example that I'm going to show you is where I used to work here in the United States, a company that adopted 13485 and managed to register with NSF for 13485. So the case study here is what we're going to talk about. And I'm going to go over some details of this adoption, and hopefully they will give you a good idea what this is involved. Okay, first, the organization is called Sodexo HTM. HTM, as I mentioned, is Healthcare Technology Management, is part of a large organization called Sodexo. And this is the third largest service organization in the United States that has about 100 hospitals, manages about 650,000 pieces of medical equipment, and has 30 years of experience because it was initially founded as a company called Patriot Medical, and it has about 600 employees, mostly stationed in client hospitals. The history of this company is that there were internal policy and procedures compliant to U.S. accreditation organizations like the Joint Commission, DMV, etc., that was authorized, deemed by the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services. And back in November 2019, this quality management system idea was conceived and then started to move as a project in 2020, and finally registration was attained in June 2024. This is an organization chart of the company. Sodexo is a French company, actually headquartered in France near Paris, and has a division in North America that is headquartered in North Bethesda, Maryland, that's near Washington, D.C., and has a division called Sodexo HTM that has its main office in Brentwood, Tennessee, near the city known as Nashville, Tennessee. And this is the quality management team that was created, and these are the on-site client teams that we have, as I said, about 100 hospitals. This is the journey we went through to establish and attain the registration. It is a fairly long process, as you can see, and the most critical one is the creation of the quality manual procedures and validation of software, etc., that was required for us to attain the quality certification. The documentation structure is well known. You folks are probably familiar with it. It's the requirement of having quality manual, have a policy for quality, procedures for related to quality, work instructions, and records keeping. And also there are additional forms and checklists, training material, etc., that had to be created. This is a fairly challenging process because not only ISO 1345 has to be considered, but also there are federal, state, and local laws and regulations and hospital own policy and procedures that had to be observed, as well as the standards adopted by the client hospitals like the Joint Commission, HFAP, NIHO, etc., as well as the Sodexo's own corporate policy and procedures, business policy and procedures, and also miscellaneous industries adopted standards and recommendations, and as I said before, hospital-specific mission, vision, and values that individual hospitals impose on Sodexo's team. And this is the quality management system overview that was established. The quality management system is composed of a quality management team that has top management involved and consider a lot of different inputs from outside, like client needs, expectations, applicable regulations. Client satisfaction and feedback is paramount, and it's used as an input as well. And regulatory authorities' feedback, if they inspect, audit, or services, they have to be included. So the design of service delivery, performance monitoring, improvements, service planning, all this come into a perpetual circle to feed the quality management system and vice versa. Okay, so to compare our quality manual with ISO 1345 gives you an idea. We followed basically the same organization structure as ISO 1345 in terms of chapters, and each one of them has specific details that is applicable to us, but not necessarily for example, for some manufacturers, because Sodexo does not manufacture any medical device. So instead of the normal scope of medical devices, etc. It became basically services oriented instead of product. It's service that is the emphasis here. Okay, so let's see what was the policy that was established. This is the quality policy for Sodexo HTM, and I'm not going to read this in detail, but basically is commitment to continually improve the quality after the quality is initially ensured, and it has to be continually improved and maintained and meet client expectations and comply with 1345 as well as applicable regulations. And the quality objectives that was established is the repair completion time, the planned maintenance compliance completion rate, customer satisfaction, and successful audits and service by both government as well as independent registrar for ISO standards. There were certain exclusions that we had to make for the 1345 because, again, we are guests at client hospitals, so we have to follow client's environmental infection control policies and procedures, and we cannot impose on them our own policies and procedures for infection control, for example. And the other one critical is that not being a manufacturer, we are not dealing with also sterile and implantable devices, so we don't have procedures for designing, creating devices, dealing with sterilization, implantable devices, etc., etc. But we had to also add many elements, for example, FDA and state regulations on X-ray systems, and also FDA guidance document regarding the remanufacturing of medical devices, because we are servicing medical devices and we don't want to overstep the boundaries and become a remanufacturer in the eyes of the FDA. So for the registration, after we created the quality policy and procedures, so we had to start training our internal audit team. We had to train the management and staff about this. We use videos or live training as well as a software system platform with quizzes, etc. And also we conducted internal audits at private hospitals as well as gap assessment that was conducted by the registrar as a consulting service that we paid them to do. The registration audit and then surveillance audit were conducted both for the first initial registration and then for upholding the registration. Both were composed in 2 stages. One is a documentation review, and then the on-site audits. So they actually went to the hospitals, interviewed staff, observed the work conducted, talked to different people there to make sure that we do what we say we do. And then non-conformities that were found, observations were provided by the registrar, and we have to submit corrective and preventive actions within a prescribed amount of time. And then the registration was given to us after the corrections were made. 1 year later, the surveillance audits were performed. And so every year this has to be done exactly the same way, stage 1, stage 2. And the registrar will insist on going to different sites this time to verify that the quality system has been implemented and the people trained, etc. And the 3rd year will require a full audit for the registration renewal. The investment that we made, human resources, we had to deploy a vice president. In this case was myself. 1/3 of my time was devoted to this. We had to hire 1 quality director, 1 internal auditor, and also deploy 1/3 of a data analyst for these purposes. 4.5 years we spent on this. This was longer than expected because it was partially interrupted by the COVID-19, and we had problem with the software validation because we were dealing with the legacy software at that time. And we had to pay $55,000 for the initial consulting services and training. Software, we paid $200,000 for acquiring a software and subscription. So this includes subscription. This is not just the initial investment. Registration fee was $25,000, including the travel of the auditor and miscellaneous fees that we paid. And so we total about $325,000, which is a significant chunk of money, but in light of the business, which was in the more than $100 million per year, this is considered a very good investment. So let's discuss what we have done. The 1345 standard may not be the best standard for clinical engineering, but we have not found any better alternative yet. As I said before, 9001 was pretty good, but was not specific enough for medical devices. So we had to choose 1345. We had many challenges. The distributed service model that we have 100+ hospitals with different local cultures and requirements was a significant challenge. As I mentioned, we had a legacy software system that was originally scheduled for replacement in 2020. We had to postpone that replacement because the software lost support from the vendor. So we had to go back and validate the legacy software, and that took quite a bit of time. The COVID-19 pandemic limited travels and on-site trainings and audits, so we had to do this remotely and also postpone a lot of visits, etc. And also we had to reconcile the U.S. government requirements, accreditation standards with ISO 1345, which are not exactly aligned in some cases. And also we had some challenges with consulting companies and registrars that were familiar with clinical engineering services. And so we had to educate the auditors about what we do, because most of them are quite acquainted with manufacturers of medical devices, but they are not familiar with service companies. So those challenges we had to face. But on the other hand, we gained quite a significant number of benefits. We have a much better organized set of policies and procedures. Staff were trained, competency was thoroughly evaluated and compliant with accreditation standards, and we have a full-fledged corrective action and preventive action process in place that was utilized several times. And we gained competitive advantage against our main competitors, who are the OEMs and also other independent service companies, and gain respect from our own internal senior leaders. And also we instilled the continual improvement mindset in staff at every level, which means that they are willing to admit mistakes and seek corrective and preventive actions without concern for punishment. And this is a cultural change that is really, really important. And we need a little more time to confirm, but we do expect fewer accreditation service citations, less risk of litigations here in the United States. As you probably know, it's notorious for this problem. And also higher customer satisfaction that improve the retention rate of our clients, and also more client referrals to gain new businesses. In conclusion, the quality management system is not a guarantee for quality in clinical engineering service as much as a guarantee for healthcare services or even medical device manufacturers. For example, if you check the number of recalls issued by manufacturers for medical devices, you will see that many manufacturers are registered for 1345, but still have many problems with recalls, etc. But it's a process. It's a process that ensures everyone from senior leaders down to the technical staff understand and value quality, and this will then help improve the process on a continual basis. Ultimately, this, we believe, will help the safety and timely care of patients that require technicians to use medical devices, and this is what you expect us to do for you as clinicians. So we understand and appreciate that this is the fundamental goal that we have. Thank you very much for your attention. 非常感谢, and I look forward to your questions and feedback, criticism, suggestions, etc. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Wang, for your excellent speech using the ISO 13485 as adoption in successful HTM company incorporate finally to the quality management system. So I still online. We can go to the panel discussions to see our three panelists if they have any question to ask you. Okay. Good. Okay. So let me introduce our three panelists. Dr. Tsai Jian-song, who is the Director of Medical Affairs, Bureau of Medical Ministry of National Defense. As my understanding, he is a very famous cardiovascular surgeon and did a very good work in the heart transplantations. Next slide. Our second panelist is Dr. Lin Zhongxian. Dr. Lin is currently the Deputy Superintendent of the Kaohsiung Medical University Zhonghe Memorial Hospital. He's also a very famous cardiologist in Taiwan. Next slide. Our third panelist is Dr. Yang Zonglong. Dr. Yang, he is currently the superintendent of the Kong hospitals. He's also engaged in the patient safety issue for a long time in Taiwan. So let's begin to ask if there are any question or comment from our panelists. So why don't we start with Dr. Tsai and then followed by Dr. Lin and then Dr. Yang. Dr. Tsai, Professor Tsai, could you please? Yes.
Yes, the moderator and all the speaker and all the audience on the live symposium. Dr. Tsai from Triception Hospital. It's my honor, privilege to be here, to be I have two questions for the speaker, Professor Pa-Chun Wang. Now the AI-related smart healthcare is more and more popular in Taiwan, especially in EKG related or EKG dependent diagnosis system, more and more popular and very many different systems now in Taiwan. Maybe clinical trial all the clinical practice. So how to differentialize the system is it's very good or very appropriate for your hospital. And the second question is you talk about all the medical device. Maybe we need to choose right person, right information on the right time. If we talk about AI related smart healthcare, how to make it fit your right person, right information, and the right time. Is my two relative question for Pa-Chun Wang professor.
Yeah, I'm not sure Dr. Pa-Chun Wang is online. He actually delivered his speech by pre-recording. Dr. Wang, Wang Pa-Chun, are you available now? Okay, it looks like he's busy. So let's wait this question to Dr. Wang Ba-Chun once he joins us. Dr. Tsai, do we have question to Dr. Wang Binseng?
Yeah,
Yes,
thank you.
please go ahead.
I have a question for the Professor Binseng Wang.
Yes,
Actually,
please.
thank you so much. Before I know the ISO 13485 for medical device. Actually, in Taiwan, medical device approved have a long history, especially if compared with the Asia company. Usually, even we don't talk about ISO. We just talk about on the market for clinical practice. Usually, it's more late compared with the Asia country. Our government regulation about the TFDA usually is very strict. And from your introduction and your share about ISO 13485. Actually, we learn very much. Do you have any suggestion for our government how to let our regulation from the government about the medical device can be fit to the international requirement, but also can be more fast on the clinical practice for the patient clinical use?
Yeah, okay.
Yes, thank you for the question, Dr. Tsai. It is difficult for me to answer your question directly because the standard ISO 1345 is focused on medical devices and not so much on the application, clinical application itself. So the requirement from the standard point of view is for the medical device manufacturers to design and manufacture the medical devices according to the standards and regulations and make sure that the device is safe and effective, efficacious for clinical purposes. So for that purpose, they have to conduct clinical trials, the so-called randomized clinical trials, RCT, and present that data to the government authority, in this case, the TFDA, to get approval. So after that, the application is in the hands of you folks, the doctors, nurses, etc. And the manufacturers can only help to educate and train the clinicians. They cannot directly interfere with that. But I think it's really important, from my personal point of view, is that the local clinicians, doctors, nurses, therapists, etc., to interact more collaboratively with the manufacturers, because very often the manufacturers have tested their devices, the so-called randomized clinical trials, in different countries, but not necessarily in Taiwan, for example. So the local culture, the local practice may be quite different from Taiwan to the United States or to the European Union. And we have seen cases of problems with the utilization of medical equipment because of different cultural backgrounds and different habits of the clinicians. And that's why we have seen, for example, a lot of recalls with the infusion pumps, the so-called smart infusion pumps. Sometimes those menus are not very obvious to the user. It's very much like your cell phones, your computers. Sometimes they are used in a way that is not what was originally intended by the manufacturers, because users have a different interpretation of the terms of the process, etc. And so it is really important for you folks to report those challenges to the manufacturers and try to not only train your people better, but also provide feedback to the manufacturers to make sure that they don't allow such mishaps from happening and therefore harm the patients and unfortunately sometimes even the clinical users.
Okay.
I hope I answered your
Thank you very
question.
much.
Okay, yes, I believe both Dr. Tsai and Dr. Wang, you give a good point that clinicians in the front line should work together with the manufacturer to ensure that products are all more friendly. But on the other hand, we should also work together with the government officers and then have them understand those products actually eventually bring a benefit to the patient and for the patient safety. Okay, good. So let's move to Dr. Lin Dongxian. Dr. Lin, do you have any other questions you'd like to raise?
Yes, thank you for two professors, Wang's comprehensive and excellent talk. And for the first speaker, Professor Pa-Chun Wang, I have no question, but because we have previously joined the ITPS platform in Taiwan, in this platform, we can share our cases and the experience of any IT system problem, and we learn from each other. So I encourage our colleague, if you don't have ITPS platform, I think you can learn a lot after joining the platform. So I encourage all of you to join us. And for the second Professor Wang's talk, we know that the ISO 13485 is crucial for manufacturer and the supplier of medical devices as establish a framework to ensure constant design, development, production, and the delivery of medical device that are safer for their intensive purpose. My question is, because we should, or a company should pass the accreditation of ISO. So, do you have any evidence or any statistic data to ensure after the accreditation, we have some objective evidence to support it to pass the accreditation, either for the company or either for the future patient safety. Thank you very much.
Unfortunately, there is no real data in terms of supporting or not supporting the adoption of 13485. The reason is very simple. The standard 13485 has been adopted by the government authorities, as I shared in one of my slides, of different countries like Canada, European Union, United States, etc. When the government adopts those standards and impose them on the manufacturers, there is no option but for the manufacturers but to follow those standards, because either they comply or they will be prohibited from marketing their devices in the country. So it's like in Taiwan. If they don't follow 13485, they cannot sell medical devices in Taiwan, period. So this is not like a clinical trial. You can take some patients, separate into two groups. One you treat with a real drug, real device. The other one you treat with a placebo and then compare the data. No, this is not possible. All manufacturers have to follow the regulation or they are out of the market. Okay. Now, on the other hand, as I also mentioned in one of my slides, the adoption of 13485 or any other standard like 9001, etc., is not a guarantee for safety. Unfortunately, this is not guaranteed. The fact that you follow the laws in your country, any other law, aviation, etc., you still can have accident. Recently, apparently, there was a transportation aircraft, I think it's UPS or FedEx or something, that landed in Taiwan and actually got into an accident there. So those things are not totally avoidable, but we would like to reduce that risk as much as possible by adopting these standards. And the primary purpose of a quality standard, as I mentioned, is to adopt the notion of continual improvement. We as humans are not perfect, as you folks are quite well aware. The old saying, to err is human. We are humans. We make mistakes. But the way to avoid more mistakes and reduce mistakes in the future is to learn from those mistakes and not repeat them. And that's the idea of continual improvement. And that's what I mentioned for the company that I was working for. It was very important to let people know that, hey, we are not going to punish you because you made a mistake, because we are all humans, we make mistakes. But you should admit the error, find a way to correct that error, not only to correct it, but also find a way to prevent the same error from repeating. And so that's the gradual process of us improving. This happens not only, obviously, for medical devices, for drugs, and also for the human endeavor as well. As you may remember, we lost, here in the United States, we lost many astronauts when we sent people to the moon. Some exploded, some got killed when they came back from the space. Those are all mistakes. Those things happen. We must admit those mistakes, find out the root causes of the mistakes, and try to not only to correct them, but to prevent them. And that's, I think, the value of continual improvement and therefore the value of ISO 13485 and other similar quality standards. I hope I answer your question.
Okay.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Good. Okay. Let's move to our last panelist, Dr. Yang. Dr. Yang Zhonglong, please.
Hi, everyone. I'm Dr. Yang. I'm a radiologist, and I'm hopelessly in love with medical IT and devices as well as quality management. So some collect stamps, but I do collect device and software error logs in my daily routine. So today I really learned a lot from Dr. Binseng Wang and on ISO 13485 in clinical engineering, and from Dr. Wang Ba-Chun on information technology related medical adverse events as an emerging patient safety risk. So I do know that one good example from Dr. Binseng Wang is Sodexo. So it's as I know, that it's a global service provider that doesn't make medical devices, but do earned ISO 13485 certification for its healthcare technology management. So this shows how even a maintenance provider can meet manufacturer grade quality standards, so ensuring equipment safety and reliability. So that's good, very good point. And I also like to share an example of how raising the bar. During my tenure as its Chief Innovation Officer at the Kaohsiung Veteran General Hospital Innovation Center, actually I do earn the first ISO 13485 certification from HS as the first one, from among Taiwan's medical centers. So this recognizes our design and development quality standards. Our process as meeting global medical device quality standards, including advanced 3D printing for patient-specific solutions. So I do recognize it's a framework where engineering innovation is backed by rigorous quality control and ensuring that both the devices and the data that produced remain fully trustworthy. So I do understand that clinical engineering and medical information quality are now inseparable. So every clinical data point where an MRI slices or a heart rate reading originates from the device, and if that device is miscalculated, poorly integrated, or insecure, then the data becomes unreliable. So the patient care is immediately at risk. Yeah. So in the near future, I do believe that innovation tools such as AI-empowered anomaly detection, digital twins, and Firebase integration checkers can further reduce risk before they reach the EMR. So I do have a question for Dr. Binseng Wang. So can AI, either software-based AI agent or humanoid AI agents, replace human quality assurance in clinical engineering in the future, or could only add a digital peer or colleague in the future to close the loop of high quality standard maintenance, or even we call the predictive maintenance in the future? Thanks.
Thank you. Very good question, Dr. Yang. I think maybe at the risk of offending, annoying you folks, I'd like to use an analogy here.
Yep.
AI, in my personal opinion, is not very different from many other tools that you have. For example, Dr. Yang, you mentioned you are a radiologist, so you probably went from the old X-ray systems to CT scanners, MRIs, PET scanners, etc. And every single time there's a new innovation in technology, you gain a new tool to treat your patient not only safely, but more effectively. And AI, in my opinion, is a continuation of this technology progress. When I went to engineering school, I'm old, I went to the engineering school using slide rule. I don't know whether any one of you have seen a slide rule in your life. It was a mechanical device. And then calculator came around, and then computers came around, and et cetera, et cetera. But they're all tools. They are nothing but tools. They cannot substitute human beings. For example, recently I tested the ChatGPT, which is a well-known tool, against clinical engineering questions. I had 50 questions in one of my books, and I asked ChatGPT to answer those 50 questions. And I'm not, I hate to say, not only surprised that it only got 55% of the questions correctly.
Okay.
Only 55%. What I'm trying to say is that I'm not saying that ChatGPT or any other AI is not good enough. It's that they are still in their infancy of trying to help us perform our work, but we need to take their advice, their assistance with a grain of salt, as we say in the United States, a big grain of salt. You, being clinicians, doctors, surgeons, etc., have many, many years experience, and not insulting you, but I believe you probably also made mistakes and learn from your mistakes, etc. You improve yourself. AI is in the same process. The problem with AI right now is that it is being trained on information that is available in books, in publications, in standards, in regulations, etc. All those things are good, but they are not perfect. If we were to trust books many centuries ago, we probably still believe the Earth is flat, or the Newton law of physics is still applicable everywhere before quantum mechanics came around and Albert Einstein proposed relativity. So we need to be constantly challenging, looking carefully at the answers provided by AI to make sure that they just don't regurgitate what many people have said, but the so-called conventional wisdom or popular knowledge, is not always right.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
We need to have critical thinking, and that is something that you doctors are very used to, because no two patients are exactly the same. We are all human beings, of course, but each one of us react a little bit differently to drugs and devices. So at the end of the day, you should use AI as a tool to help you eliminate a number of things that are not relevant. But at the end of the day, you still have to be the person who decides whether the recommendation is good or not good, or you need to improve. And don't be afraid to contradict the AI recommendation, because it does not know everything. And many things that many people know actually are not necessarily correct.
Yeah.
So I hope I'm not disappointing you, but yes, we are in the process of advancing the predictive maintenance and many other things. Unfortunately, it is a very slow process, and also several manufacturers are not very forthcoming in sharing the information with us, because they want to keep this proprietary to them. And also some of them are reluctant to admit that they rush some medical devices to the market because of the money income aspect, and did not foresee all the possible problems and risks before they launched the product on the market. So now they are busy trying to correct those problems, and that's why you see a lot of recalls, adjustments, software upgrades for your imaging processing. Yes, there are lots of things that still are in progress. Now, admittedly, for medical imaging, AI can help a lot because it is less subject to human errors in terms of being tired, being overwhelmed with data, with data points, etc. So yes, it can help, but don't let it be the sole decision maker of the clinical diagnostic or therapeutics. You need to put yourself into the position of the person to review the information, say, I agree or I don't agree with the answer provided by AI. I hope I answer your question.
We need to put human in the loop. I do agree. Thank you.
Okay, so it looks like we are running out of our time. So before I hand over to our Dr. Huang Weichun, let me highlight the key message from our two distinguished speakers tonight. Our first speaker, Dr. Wang Ba-Chun, actually he began to discuss with the 10 health-related hazards, many of them related to health IT related. He emphasized not all of them visible, and some of them are even not witnessed, but all cause patient harm and compromise the workplace safety, sometimes disrupt the workflow. Therefore, to investigate the health IT contributing factor are critical. He gave an example of the platform called ITPS from Taiwan. 45 cases collected in 2023 involve some of the data transmission error, data synchronous error, and alarm problems. And finally, he pointed out that it is timely to address this issue to ensure safety operational environment being continually monitored. Our second speaker, Dr. Binseng Wang, actually he started with the introduction of clinical engineering and qualities. And he pointed out ISO 13485 is for medical device, support the global alignment of regulatory requirement for medical devices. And he gave a very good example of adoption ISO 13485 in a company called Successor HTM, which is the third largest service organization in the United States. So after a long journey process of adoption, they get a certification available. and most critically, they incorporate into so-called quality management systems very successfully. But of course, invest a lot of manpower and financial resources. So thank you for these two outstanding speakers. I believe many of us learned a lot. So let me hand over to our chair, Dr. Huang Weichun. Dr. Huang, please.
Thank you, Professor Xu. Thank you so much for your organized Q&A session. So tonight we have two brilliant talks and also have a very nice discussion in the end. So I hope you to keep to follow up our Taiwan Healthcare Quality Association. We will organize more international webinar meeting to improve the healthcare quality in Asia or in the world. Thanks so much for attending tonight. Wish you have a good night. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Dr. Wang, thank you so much. Good
Bye-bye.
morning. Good morning.
Yep.
Thank you.
Yeah. Good night.
Good night.
Okay. Bye-bye.
See you. See you.
好，谢谢两位秘书。好，你们今天弄得很成功，谢谢谢谢，有很认真在做功课。
不密，谢谢。
没有，谢谢你们。好 ，OK， 好，晚安啊。然后
晚安。
你们两位想要领出席费，还是想要补时数？你们自己再决定。想要领出席费，还是想要补时数？你们自己再决定。